Secret Life of Pets 2 is the sequel to the first film that came out in 2016. This one is once again made by Illumination Entertainment, and this film is about when Illumination wanted to make a Secret Life of Pets TV show, and for some reason someone said no to them, so they were like, you know what, let's take these 3 different pilot storylines and let's make them into one movie and just release it theatrically. There we go. Now we don't have to spend any more time developing like an actual like in-depth sequel. We could just take these 3 mini storylines and just put them together and we're good. That'll be our TV show pilot, the movie. If you remember my review for the first Secret Life of Pets film, wasn't a big fan of it, and I rewatched it before seeing this film. I tried to do that with a lot of other franchise installments, and I liked it a little more. And by a little more, I mean it bumped up from a C to a C+, so they got something going for them, I guess. But with that first film, I walked in with some expectations because there were some people that were still kind of talking a little bit highly about it on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie, I was not going in with any high expectations at all. The trailers, like the little mini character trailers, just showed me everything I didn't want to see, and I just couldn't care less about it. The fact that I only liked 4 Illumination movies, and only one of them I kind of came close to really loving. The first Despicable Me movie, and the other 3 that I like are just kind of good, but could have been much better. So I walked into this film with little to no expectations, and I walked out, surprisingly, disappointed. I never knew that I could walk in with something with literally no expectations, after being let down by the first installment, and then be let down again because I recognized an idea that could have gone places that they just didn't do. I didn't know I could be disappointed by that, but here we are. I want to get some of the positives out of the way. Once again, the animation looks great. It's kind of a mute thing to say at this point because pretty much almost every animated film that comes out, except for like Norm of the North or something like that, the animation looks fantastic. So I don't really know why I need to tell you guys this. You can see it from the trailers that it looks so good. Another thing that's really good, like in the last Secret Life of Pets movie, is Alexander Desplat's score. If you remember, I actually adore that score much more than I expected to. And in this film, there's a lot of great musical cues that he comes up with once again that I really enjoyed. If anything, I was disappointed that there wasn't more to his music. More on that later. Other things I liked about the movie, occasionally it could be funny. There's this one scene involving the vet that actually got me kind of laughing. Other than that, the rest of the things that got to me were just kind of mild chuckles that, you know, like, whatever, it's a chuckle, but it was kind of amusing. I will say that Jenny Slate as Gidget continues to be, like, my favorite character in this movie, I guess. I really like Jenny Slate's performance as her, and I like the funny writing that they do with her. Like, she's actually really entertaining to watch, even if she's not the main focus of this film. I will like to also say that Patton Oswalt does a good job replacing Louis C.K. If you remember Louis C.K., he was Max in the first movie, but after certain things came to light, got rid of him. Deservedly so, obviously, but Patton Oswalt does a good job replacing him, and I really like the idea of what they were trying to go for with Max's inner struggle. He has a lot of anxieties and fears about life because his owner, Katie, meets a husband, they get married, and then they have a kid, and he's worried about the kid now because that's his kid. He's not a kid dog, but he likes this kid specifically, and he wants to take care of him, and he's worried that the world's gonna hurt him. And there's this character named Rooster, played by Harrison Ford, of all people. And when Max and Duke go to the farm because Katie's uncle or someone's uncle, they go to visit him, and that's his dog, Rooster. The way Rooster kind of interacts with Max, like, hey, you gotta let go of all these fears, be more like me, more free-spirited, and more open to the challenges ahead. Like, that's a good idea for a lot of people, because there's a lot of anxiety issues around the world, pretty much. So the fact that you could make a movie, an animated film of all things, and you could try to hammer in the point like, hey, it's okay to have fears, but if you let those define who you are, you're going to be brought down and you're not going to be living life to the fullest. That's a good message to bring to kids. Unfortunately, like Illumination does, they cheap out on story, and then all of a sudden the message just feels like it's been buried under a bunch of just dumb pandering stuff that's meant to stretch out the runtime so that it's at least the same length as the first Secret Life of Pets film, which it actually is. If you take a look, it's almost as if it's scientifically made to be that way. In fact, if you look at the other Illumination films, you might notice a certain trend that they're all clocking in around the same runtime, which is very odd to say the least. But it kind of confirms my suspicions, as well as everyone else's, that they don't really care that much about story. They'll come up with a neat idea, and then they'll go certain places with it that could have been really good, But then they relied too much on, well, we need to entertain kids mostly, so we're going to put in a bunch of dumb, cutesy stuff that occasionally might be chuckle-worthy. And that's why I was disappointed the most, because I saw where this film could have gone, and I was like, yes, this is good, keep going with this, pursue this idea, and then it just gets glossed over because we need to focus more on Captain Snowball. Kevin Hart once again, baby! Out of the 3 storylines, the Captain Snowball one, where he's a superhero, that's easily the worst one. It's so annoying. I didn't like Snowball in the first film. I don't like him here again. He has a rap song at the end, Panda. So bad. I don't know why they wanted to close the film with that, but whatever. Also in this storyline, they introduced the villain that'll eventually impact Max's storyline, but like not till like the last 10 minutes because they had to rewrite those endings so that they merge into like an actual film, which kind of, it proves my suspicions before that these 3 were just TV show plots, like mini episodes that then they rewrote so that the endings merged into one. And A Secret Life of Pets TV show might actually be fun, like a Looney Tunes inspired almost TV show about these pets going on wacky adventures, doing their pet shenanigans that sometimes audience members can relate to because they have pets. That could really work out. And plus, you don't need to take your kids to the theater, you can sit them right at home, make them watch the show. It could have worked out really well. Why they decided to make the movie, I don't know who canceled their pilot or whatever happened, but this should not have been a movie, at least not a theatrically released film. This is, at best, straight-to-DVD quality. I will give them this, better than your average straight-to-DVD film, but still, at the end of the day, straight-to-DVD quality. I realized this mainly when it got to the ending of this movie, and there's a certain moment that could have been so beautiful and touching if they used Alexander Desplat's score. This is where I'm going to go back to the score from earlier. There's a moment near the end of the film that could have been really touching, because there's a moment like that at the end of the first movie where you hear the pianos of the Welcome Home track from the score, and you're like, wow, I'm actually feeling touched in my heart. At least I felt that way. Alexander Desplat's music is fantastic, so I felt really touched when it came to that ending. More touched than I felt throughout that movie, pretty much. And this movie has another ending that could have gone there for this almost kind of slow, no jokes, just kind of nice little heartfelt moment. But instead, the entire movie is too fast-paced, so when they get to this ending that really needs to, in order for it to work and impact people, needs to be stretched out a little bit as far as length goes, as far as pacing. They don't do that, and then they play some hip-hop song over it while Max says something that could have struck at you right in the heart while Alexander Desplat piano music plays. But they don't have Alexander Desplat score, they have a freaking hip-hop song! And it takes away the mood of what this movie could have been. It takes away the mood of that scene and what this movie could have been. Illumination, why do you cheap out on story, dude? I love how Illumination never cheaps out as far as the animation, the designs of these animals, and just the little funny animal jokes that, hey, I can relate to that because I have a pet. But they always cheap out when it comes to story, theme, emotions. Jesus Christ! It reminded me so much of Despicable Me 3, where there's some idea there for estranged families, reconnecting with them, but then that message was glossed over for the sake of, like, several different storylines that, like this movie, felt like TV episodes that really had nothing to do with each other until they eventually did near the end. It feels exactly the same. You can't make movies like this! I think I'm more disappointed because I know Illumination can go really great places with their movies if they just tried. But the pandering and the corporate way they write these films, it always shines through. And it's so annoying. I enjoyed the score, I enjoyed the animation, there are a couple things that got me chuckling. Gidget's a fun character, Harrison Ford does a good job as Rooster, though he's not in it enough, and Patton Oswalt does a fine job replacing Louis C.K., whatever, frickin'. That doesn't really matter, though, if your main plot really has no reason to exist, if you're not going to delve into the theme of the film and make it impact you in any way, if it's just gonna be as simple as like 1, 2, 3, alright, we're good, you got the message, and then they're just gonna carry on with this circus villain from the Snowball story. I didn't even know this, but he was voiced by Nick Kroll. I couldn't even tell when I was watching the movie, but afterwards I looked it up on IMDb and I was like, oh, that was Nick Kroll? Wow, I didn't even notice. I just love how this movie was literally just building up to an action scene for the ending, and then that was it, and then they just kind of wrap it up quickly, like, okay, let's get the Max cute scene at the end, and alright, we're good, wait, we gotta put in the panda, like, almost, like, mid-credit roll. Alright, we're good now. This movie is too fast-paced for its own good. Illumination, I know you like to make things on the cheap side, so that's why most of your movies are like under an hour and a half. But for once, can you make something that's well-paced, almost like stretched out enough so that everything can impact you correctly, so that the story can be fully fleshed out? Also, why is there 3 storylines? Snowball does not need to be in this movie. Gidget, as much as I was entertained by her because Jenny Slate's just so fun as the character in the cat lady apartment, even she doesn't even need to be in this movie. The rest of the pets didn't even really need to be in this movie. It just needed to focus on the family dynamic with Max, Duke, Katie, her husband and the kid, and Harrison Ford's rooster. Something on the farm. Like, obviously it's not the Secret Life of Pets movie anymore, it's just the Max and Duke sort of storyline, but it's fine if you're able to deliver a message that works so well, and if you're able to impact people at the end of the day. You don't need a main villain to make your movie work, you don't need side characters that are just there to be cutesy, not there so you can actually remember their names. You can do something really emotional and powerful with a small story as long as it's developed, as long as you have something going on. And you almost did, but you keep messing up! As mentioned before, I can't hate this movie because there are things that I liked about it. Sure, I mentioned them. I don't need to mention them again. But the main thing I'm upset about is that this feels too much like a corporate product made by a company that just wants to make money and doesn't even really care about integrity, pretty much. Like, we're getting Minions 2, The Rise of Gru, at some point. And eventually, I heard they're gonna develop the Despicable Me 4 movie, and Sing 2, and the Mario movie, Super Mario Bros. You know they're gonna mess that up. It might not be as bad as the live-action movie, but they'll probably find a way to mess that up. Problems from the first movie come once again. The Snowball character annoyed me. Certain things are going too fast, and you can't really get involved enough to actually feel something by the end of the movie. It doesn't even have a nice score moment to make you, like, be tricked into thinking you just saw a nice movie. A lot of the jokes similar to the first movie I didn't even think were all that funny. Like I said, there's a couple cutesy animal things that they do sometimes, but that's not the whole movie, pretty much. There's a lot of dumb jokes that I don't like. The other pets still have really no character to them. Duke, who was an important aspect of the first movie, barely gets any play here except, well, let's write him into this one scene because he was in the first movie, so I guess he has to be here. Alright, we're good. Overall, kids will really like this movie, but if you're a guy like me, especially if you didn't like the first Secret Life of Pets movie, you're really not missing out on this one, like at all. There's nothing really to this movie that stands out other than it had an idea that made it a little bit better than what it could have been, which is just a movie with no message, but then it fell flat on its face. Actually, not even that. It didn't fall flat on its face. Illumination intentionally didn't make it good. That's what they're doing, right? It's because they didn't fall flat like, oh, we messed up and we didn't even realize it. Like, no, they know what they're doing. They know they're making commercials for kids. They know they're making products. They're not making something that they think is going to be good, but, oh wait, people didn't like it because we messed up in some way that we didn't foresee. No, it's all calculated. It's all calculated. Honestly, at this point, I'm starting to think that they've movies that I've liked by accident. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they've made good movies by accident before. And something like The Secret Life of Pets 2 is something that we should just expect from them all the time, especially when it comes to sequels. Idea that could be really good, but then squandered by cutesy kid bullcrap meant to cash in on them and trick them into thinking they've seen something great, when really they'll grow up with something that's really lame and be like, oh yeah, that's really lame. I'm gonna give The Secret Life of Pets 2 a C. Somehow it ended up worse than the first movie, and I didn't even like that movie. I don't know how Illumination still hasn't found out that when you make good movies, it seems to carry on more that you do that. Like, hey, they made a good movie, let's go see that. I don't think they realize that if they focus too much on the Minions side of their business, as far as like making money off of these cutesy things, eventually that'll kind of show and be like, okay, let's not go see that movie. Like, that's not up to our standards. We gotta go see the new Pixar film, because those are much better than Illumination will ever make. Illumination could have the potential to be up there as one of the best animation companies out there, maybe rivaling other ones, but they never do. They calculate themselves to not go there. Money-wise, they're catching up, obviously. The Minions have made them a crap ton of money. But critically, when it comes to how much these movies will actually live on with people, They're not doing that. They're not making memories. They're not making characters like a Woody or Buzz that we connect to and cry over in other movies. They're making characters that you'll remember in the moment, but then you'll forget about as soon as you're gone. And that's just for the kids. The adults will forget about them instantly. But if you've seen Secret Life of Pets 2, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.